Check it out. There's the bed off the silver truck. That guy right there, his name's Jay. Been a subscriber. He said number 87. Back in the day. He lives up north and he came down here and bought that bed off me. Plan is the first gen, maybe a third gen. But class act right there. And he's driving 18 5500 6-speed manual. And you can hear it. Just take a moment. Yeah, boy.
Oh, that's a hitcher. That's good enough. Okay.
Got the legend. G56 out of, I think he said, an 06. Truck had been rolled over. Just got on the freeway, icy roads. Gave it a little too much gas when he shouldn't. Came around on him, put him in the bank, flipped on his lid. I believe this thing to be a low mile unit. T-case feels pretty tight. I went ahead and hit the drain plug on it because, well, I didn't know if there was going to be anything in it. Since the truck fell on its lid, the previous owner said it felt like he was on fire because the oil came out of the transmission, leaked down onto his back while he was in the truck upside down. And so there's no oil in the trans. So I went ahead and mainly pulled the drain plug because it's got a magnet on it. And honestly, you always have a little bit of shavings like that. It's not that big a deal. But I just wanted to see how much guck would be on there. Further inspection on a couple little items on it. He had already sold the clutch out of it, and the rear drive shaft went to his buddy. And I coincidentally happened to have another G56 swap and already had one piece aluminum drive shaft, which I think should work just fine. But I got the front one. I think it's slightly shorter of a trans than NV5600. But I did get the hydraulics from him aftermarket. So how to check to see if anybody's really throwing some power at it. The dual disc clutch is pretty standard replacement if you're going to throw some power at a stick shift truck, because the factory single disc can't hold nothing. You look down in here, the pivot ball, and you see down in there, see that washer behind the pivot ball? That means factory. You have to take that washer out to get just that little bit more clearance to get a dual disc in there. So what I'm going to do now, because I'm not ready to throw this in the truck, I'm going to dump some, it's actually Royal Purple that had low miles on it when I was switching back and forth on different gear oils for the G56. I'm going to put that in there so it's got something to soak into the synchros. And it didn't have that much water in there, but I just don't like that at all. Keep all my oils, antifreeze, little knickknacks up there that I don't use on all the time. I ended up switching to Mobil 1 Delvac transmission fluid SA50. I did try all kinds of different brands. This is actually not Rotella. This is Royal Purple that I drained out of the truck. And I figured I'm not going to toss it because this stuff's actually pretty expensive. And I'm never going to use it for something again. But I didn't want to toss it because it's, it's a lot of dollars actually inside this jug. So I'm going to dump just a little bit down in there, let her drain out, just so it kind of washes some of the junk out. I already popped the shift stick off the top. And then I'm going to let the rest of this soak in here until we get around to this project. But I am very excited about this. Earth. We don't want stuff that came from the earth going back to the earth. So we'll put it in a bucket. And then what happens to it once you drop it off at your parts store? It goes back to the earth at some point. But I'll probably end up just running a little bit. Oh, this stuff is runny. I just want to get a little bit through it to kind of wash junk down a little bit. This stuff is not cheap, but I ain't gonna reuse it. Might as well let it soak in this bad boy a little bit. It already cleared up pretty good. The milk stuff came right out of the old girl. Where's the thing at? I should have checked this when I was there. Might have been able to drive down the price a little bit, but in all retrospect, still got a pretty decent deal. I got the shift, well, not the shift column, but the steering column, steering wheel, all kinds of little knickknacks. And it wasn't too much more for this than it was for my first G56 that I did a swap in my 98. So we'll just dump this in there, let it soak into those synchros. Then when we get around to this project, we have a little bit more confidence. Little things like this happen. Old boy lived up in Nevada, and he didn't have a shop. He's working out on gravel driveway with a piece of plywood for shop floor. Snow, ice, you know. That seems like an awful lot. You know why? Running the two trans coolers, external jobbies, on my, oh wait, that's where this trans oil came out of. And you run these things, I want to say 6 quarts. You end up running 7 just to get that gear rollover noise to go away just a little bit. And with the extra coolers, you end up running 8, so pretty much got 2 gallons. So that makes sense. Truck was pretty much completely deleted on when I got there. Well, this is an aftermarket steering wheel cover. They said it's a 160,000 mile truck. Steering wheel normally doesn't lie. But they covered it up with this piece of leather thing, which underneath, I would say this is pretty weak stuff. I'd say we might have had a 160,000 mile truck. No way to verify it, just gotta take the old boy's word. But he did say if you had any trouble at all with the trans, let him know. He said it actually shifted better than the G56 truck he bought to replace it, so that's nice. All the knickknacks. Let's get the truck down here and start working on it, I think. Let this soak on it, get some of this other junk out of the way we don't need, get to work. Oh yeah. I don't think you guys are ready for this big boy. This came off of the G56 donor that I put in my 98. This is apparently Mega Cab drive shaft. I didn't know they were single drive shafts, but not a 2-piecer. This thing is a pretty nice piece, and I just held on to it. Had no idea why I would hold on to it because I had no use for it. But taped her up. Let's see if she was all cleaned up. Hopefully I cleaned it before I taped it. Try to keep the surfaces nice. Where'd the end of it go? Very glad I went through the extra effort when I put this up for storing. I definitely wire wheeled it, and then I taped it up after I hit it with some probably WD-40 sprayed on it. But the inside got a little rust, but we're trying to get preventative. It's the right one. Hopefully the length is right. Well, A little bit of rust in the splines down there. The end didn't get covered up. This thing was in a building. If you're going to store these things, you definitely need to lubricate the shaft so that it doesn't get all rusty and get pitted out. Outside, that's easy to clean up. The inside, different story. But I got it slid on there a couple inches, but it just started getting bound up. So I dumped some ATF in there. I'm going to slide this glove over the end in case this thing falls down in the middle of the night. I'm not about to try it with one hand because I'll be picking up half quart of ATF that's dumped down the tube of that thing. I spilled a little bit. So, things that I'm going to do right now before I put this bad boy in there. It looks like transfer case output front seal, whatever. That thing was leaking because I saw a little bit of ATF dripping down right there. I didn't really actually plan on using this one because the other one in the truck was doing great. But I went ahead and got that seal, this seal, and this guy right here. This bad girl, let's see if she can get off there. This looks to be a factory Amazon hootenanny that somebody put on there. And you can tell how well that held up. Not good at all. Looks like there's junk down inside there actually. Probably pull this thing off there, clean it up a little bit first. And then I'll show you what we're going to put on there. Yeah, that's some desert sand in there. We don't want that. Seal Polar 9000 extraordinaire. You get these at Home Depot. Drill gun, optional. Should be pretty good in there. Pretty good. Wow. I think I got a seal installer kit, but shaft's too big. In the way. And the factory ones look exactly like this. This is Amazon knockoff. I know from experience because they do not quite fit on the shaft all the way. This right here is a CV boot off of I don't know what, but there's a nice part number. Screenshot it. This bad boy comes with a tube of grease. We're gonna try these little dingers, these one-time use hose clamps for the CV world. Try to snap this on there, but this has a lot more flexibility. Get this thing kind of notched up to where you kind of like. We'll see if it works. I don't know. These things kind of suck. At least I kind of suck at using them, I guess. I believe it's taken me longer to put this boot on than it took me to pull the trans. Basically because I got this little kit. I think it's, yep, Tractor Supply hose clamps. Broke two of them already. Had to go back to my Napa collection. There we go. Now I'm going to build a gasket for this, just in case you got to pull it back off there for whatever reason. Normally you put RTV right there, but I think I built an extra one last time because it's kind of a pain to cut them out by hand if you don't have a template. So I made one, and then I think I made another one. I'm hoping I planned ahead like that. Certainly looks homemade. Nope. That's an intake one. Building one from scratch. Standard paper gasket. Everywhere stock something like this. I don't know if they actually have a part number. You can get one of these gaskets, but I don't have the time right now. Boom. It almost practically cuts it out perfectly for you. Go ahead and spend your whole paycheck at the dollar store. Get yourself some hole punch. You can get a little kit so that you get the right size, but this one I just do a couple laps because you got your alignment dowels. We gotta trim it a little bit right there for that. Let's see if that thing lines up. Definitely a little bit on the crude side, not my finest work, but she will do the job. I'm just going to set this here because I got to take the shifter tower off to put the trans in. Everything in here is good to go except for putting a dual disc in this setup. Oh, you guys got tilted. So we need to take off the little washer behind there, and this thing's ready to go. I lube all this up. Actually a little bit of a groove there, but we'll go underneath the truck. I'll show you what the plan there is. Ha! Crack myself up when I remember random sizes like that. 3/4. Got it. That is a factory washer. Oh, get back here. How's the shifter ball look? Honestly, it looks pretty low mile. I went ahead and took the wire wheel, cleaned up all the input shaft and where the pilot bearing goes. You do not want that to be all rusty crusty, because that will, for one, get stuck in there, and for two, it'll make your clutch discs not slide if there's any rust on there. Same thing with right here. Let's get the shifter fork. Now some guys might say, oh, I shouldn't put grease on there, on your splines. That dual disc has got to walk back and forth. It's not a conventional where the clutch just backs up off the disc. These actually have to move a little bit, and I've had better experience hands down with the Valère. I just went underneath, ran the file on the splines on the clutch itself, and definitely right here, your pilot bearing, because like I told you earlier, you got a little bit of rust right there on that bad boy, and you can get stuck in the pilot bearing. And or I've had, not personally, but same truck, exact truck, just somebody else owned it, bad pilot bearing, and the truck acted like the clutch was bad. So figure that one out. So grease her all up, grease the pivot ball, and I'm going to go ahead and grease where the throwout bearing slides, because this thing was where'd that come from? Oh. The throwout bearing will have a little bit of grease right there from factory, but I like this to have a little bit more. Get this bad girl set up. Got a new pilot bearing. Wait, no, got a new throwout bearing. You gotta have your little doohickey mabiggy here. Which way does it go? Like that? Sure. It goes like this. So, nope. Goes on this one. Almost had her backwards. Would you go on your home? This little devil. What's the easier route? Do you slam it on there, or do you go in from the top once it's on there? Let's try it. Where'd it go? Let's try to go on the top route. Just don't break. There we go. Oh yeah. Don't lose that thing or break it, your little clip holster. If not, you can get by with rubber band. It's not permanent, but it can't go off there once you got the clutch and everything on there. So this trans, ready to go. I'll drain that royal purple that I have in there right now. I'll drain it once it gets in the truck because it'll be held up. So tune in for the next video on this install. But the G56, this is the low mile unit. It's kind of a wild card when you buy something used and don't get to actually test her out. But the old boy said he had planned to put it in a different truck, but he just couldn't get the computers to get along. So that gives me a little bit more confidence. But he also said it was a 160,000 mile truck, which is pretty low in the Cummins world. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the old G56. Oh, and FYI, She's already in here. G5600, wait, NV5600 has been a long day. It's already out on the ground, so we're full swing. Thanks guys for watching. Appreciate it. Later.